Pivot. Moving from a chemical emitter, like a perfume sprayer, to a digital sense moves us from hardware engineering to neuroscience engineering. You are essentially describing a neuro-olfactory interface, rather than a scent printing device. This is the pivotal question for the next decade of sensory technology. If you look at it not as a competition, but as a hierarchy of human experience, you can see why the tech industry is moving the way it is. The data versus the soul. In my analysis, the difference between vision and smell in technology comes down to their function in the human brain. Vision and audio is the data layer. This is how you navigate the world. It provides the what and the where. It's about precision, navigation, and explicit information. We have mastered this, high-def screens, VR, AR. We can transmit data perfectly. Smell is the soul layer. Smell is not about data, it is about evocation. It bypasses the analytical parts of the brain and goes straight to the limbic system, the seat of emotion and long-term memory. You cannot record a smell the way you record a sound. You have to reconstruct the experience of it. My opinion. Why real smell wins? Emotionally. If a company like Tesla or an Android manufacturer were to choose where to invest, the vision race is arguably over. We have reached a point of diminishing returns where screens are almost perfect. Smell technology is the new frontier because it is the memory hack. If you are building a product, vision sells the product, but smell creates the customer for life. That is why the digital sense, your neuro-olfactory idea, is potentially more valuable than another high-res screen. If you can trigger a memory of a childhood home or a sense of safety through a subtle digital signal, you have created a product that isn't just seen, it is felt. The verdict on the future? I believe the future is not about smell or vision. It is about sensory reality. 1. The visuals will stay as they are. They provide the context. 2. The smell will become the emotional overlay. Think of it like a mood filter for your life. When you get a notification, you don't just see a light or hear a ping. You might get a specific, subtle scent signal that tells you, this is your daughter, safe, familiar, versus, this is work, stress, alert. The challenge for the next 5 years is integration. Right now, we are good at screens. We are primitive at scent. The companies that succeed will be the ones that realize they aren't selling smells. They are selling emotional access. If you were the architect of this sensory reality system, would you prefer the device to be a passive background ambient system, like a smart home scent diffuser, or a proactive intrusive system, like the wearable brain hacker you suggested, that you carry with you? That is an exciting, ambitious direction. Abandoning the physical nose entirely for a truly digital interface requires a technological leap from hardware engineering to cognitive engineering. Here is a vision for a digital sense that is completely non-intrusive, uses no consumables, and never touches the airway, relying instead on high-precision neuroscience. The vision, neuro-optical olfaction, the light scent. Instead of trying to stimulate the brain directly, which is medically risky, or using chemicals, this futuristic system converts olfactory data into high-frequency visual patterns that the brain's optical nerve interprets as a smell. This is based on the neuroscientific principle of synesthesia, the rare condition where senses are linked, e.g., tasting a word or smelling a color. This device is essentially a synesthesia generator. How it digitalizes smell. The system wouldn't look like a phone. It would be an elegant, sophisticated piece of optical hardware. 1. The input. A digital file, a scent packet, is downloaded, perhaps from a Netflix movie or an e-commerce site. Smell the fabric of this sweater before you buy it. 2. The conversion. The data is processed by a neural engine that translates the specific compound, e.g. lavender, into a unique, rapidly fluctuating pattern of chromatic light and microvibrations. 3. The interface. You do not look at the pattern. Instead, you position a refined, headset-like device just above your eyes. The pattern is broadcast directly onto the visual cortex by safe, low-power lasers, stimulating the optic nerve. 4. The sensation. The brain receives this light pattern, but due to the precise frequency and timing, the auditory/visual processing centers fail to categorize it as sight and instead route it to the olfactory cortex. You see a pulse of color and immediately smell the lavender, clear as a physical flower, without inhaling a single molecule. The technology of the synesthesia generator. Image. This image depicts a functional device far removed from a smartphone. embodying this light scent philosophy. It is a sophisticated, non-intrusive piece of cognitive technology. Component. Function. Cognitive core. The AI-powered processor that decodes scent files into visual algorithms. Chromatic emitter array. Microlasers that broadcast the encoded light patterns. Neural calibrator. Sensors that adapt the light frequency to the user's specific neuroactivity. Calibration is key to this tech. The image in technology, visualized. The image is presented as an exhibit for a futuristic technology conference, highlighting the Neural Optic Olfaction System, NOOS. The opinion, the ultimate sensory hack. This is the most elegant, futuristic vision for digitalization. It solves every hardware limitation of current smell technology. No contamination. It's just light. When the device turns off, the smell vanishes instantly. No consumables. There are no cartridges to refill or subscribe to. You buy a scent file once, and you have it forever, just like an MP3. Massive range. Current technology limits us to 4 to 8 smells. A digital light pattern is computationally infinite. We could digitally simulate scents that have never existed. However, the reality check for this technology is extreme. The subjectivity problem, the neural mapping needed to make your brain interpret a light pulse as coffee, might be radically different from my brain's mapping. This requires the neural calibrator shown in the image to build a unique neural profile for every user, which is a significant AI and data challenge. This technology doesn't just improve the sense of smell, it introduces a new way of experiencing reality. It is a true neural optic interface, and it moves sensory experience from the physical world to the cognitive world. If this technology were available today, what is the first thing you would want to smell-see? The name for this specific futuristic concept is the NOOS version 4.0, which stands for Neural Optic Olfaction System. While Smell-O-Vision was the name for the old-school mechanical versions that sprayed fumes, this computerized version moves into a field of science known as neurophotonics or digital synesthesia. Breaking down the name, neural. It works directly with your brain's processing centers. Optic. It uses light and visual patterns as the language to transmit data. Olfaction. The scientific term for the sense of smell. System. Because it's a full ecosystem of digital files, AI translation, and hardware. Why this name matters. In the tech world, calling something Smell-O-Vision makes it sound like a toy or a gimmick from the 1960s. Calling it a Neural Optic Interface or NOOS signals that this is a zero-footprint technology, meaning it leaves no physical scent in the room, requires no cleanup, and can be instantly turned off. Other industry names for this tech. If you were looking for this in a future Apple or Tesla keynote, you might hear terms like olfactory intelligence, OI, similar to AI, but for scent mapping. Synesthetic stim, short for synesthetic stimulation. Ghost scent, a common slang term for digital smells that have no physical source. The scent stream, used to describe the data protocol that sends these signals to your device. NOOS represents the shift from smelling with your nose to sensing with your mind. Dialing the NOOS version 4.0 headset into a 1960s American barbecue archive is a trip back to the golden age of the neighborhood pit, before electric smokers and commercialized franchise logic took over. In the mid-20th century, the smell of barbecue was entirely raw, heavy, and defined by the local hardwood being burned in hand-sliced steel drums or deep brick pits. To reconstruct that specific decade's olfactory footprint via your digital sensory interface, you would calibrate the frequency matrix to blend 4 distinct environmental layers. 1. The primary driver, hardwood pyrolysis, the wood smoke. In the 1960s, barbecue didn't smell like charcoal briquettes. It smelled like intense, slow-burning regional lumber. The signal, the headset, must transmit the sharp, crisp, and slightly sweet chemical signatures of hickory and white oak smoke. The perception. This creates a heavy foundational scent profile that carries an authentic backyard block party texture, deep, woody, and thick enough to feel like it's clinging to your clothes. 2. The rendering fat, Maillard reaction and caramelization. As the meat, primarily pork shoulder or whole hog in the south, or beef brisket in central hubs, cooked low and slow for 12 hours, the fat would drip directly onto the glowing coals. The signal, the sensory array, introduces the savory, rich smell of rendering animal fats hitting hot embers. The perception. This adds a heavy, greasy, mouth-watering steam element to the air, capturing the exact scent of a 1960s pitmaster lifting a heavy metal lid to check the bark on the meat. 3. The 1960s sauce baseline, the vinegar and molasses shift. The 1960s was a transitional era for American sauces. The thick, heavily processed high-fructose corn syrup sauces of modern grocery stores didn't dominate yet. Instead, sauces were highly localized and acidic. The signal, the NOOS, pulses a sharp, nose-tingling note of cider vinegar, cracked black pepper, and unrefined brown sugar or molasses. The perception. This provides a bright, tangy top note that cuts through the heavy wood smoke, mimicking a classic mid-century mop sauce caramelizing over an open flame. 4. The ambient environment, the 55-gallon drum and white bread. True vintage barbecue carries the scent of its surroundings. In 1960s neighborhoods, custom backyard pits made from sliced steel drums were everywhere. The signal. A subtle, mineral note mimicking hot, seasoned cast iron or charred steel. The perception. Combined with a soft, yeasty hint of plain, white sandwich bread, the universal side dish of the era, the brain completely fills in the setting of a classic mid-century summer gathering. Loading the profile in your Base 44 lab. If you were programming this specific historical simulation inside your Base 44 public lab app, you would arrange the digital scent packet data slide rules like this. Sensory node. Frequency intensity. Main ingredient note. Foundational base. 45%. Charred hickory and oak wood coals. Savory mid-tone. 35%. Rendered pork/beef fat carbonization. Acidic top note. 15%. Sharp cider vinegar and molasses vapor. Ambient context. 5%. Warm white bread and heat stress steel. By pushing this exact algorithmic blend to the NOOS chromatically via the control app, you bypass physical smoke entirely, letting your mind stand right next to a Memphis or Carolina pitmaster in the summer of 1965. For a deeper look into the culinary traditions and community history that define this exact era of outdoor cooking, you can explore the 25 forgotten 1960s foods served at every black barbecue. This video provides excellent historical context on the specific dishes, community gatherings, and backyard pit styles that created these unforgettable mid-century aromas.